So
Yeah.
do you have that story up yet, Joe?
Yeah, putting it up now. I had it waiting.
I put it up. All right.
Here you go.
All right.
There's the first quote.
All right. The um, go ahead and read it because I can't.
Okay.
It's too
The
small for me
letter's
to
kind
read.
of small.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me too.
Yeah.
Brett says the old kind of wrestling is sorely missed by a lot of people. If the old wrestling was around like my dad's wrestling, we'd come see it. I'm trying to advise my son Dallas and help him deliver the kind of wrestling show that I would enjoy watching, where the wrestlers actually know what a headlock is rather than doing the scripted ballet and leaping, twirling, and dancing around like a bunch of ballet dancers. I don't really enjoy today's wrestling for those reasons. They lost a lot of the steps towards the reality and credibility of wrestling. Wrestling, in my opinion, needs to pretend to be real. It always has pretended really hard, almost to the point that you believe it's real. Wrestling is so far-fetched today. When I think of WWE and see 20 wrestlers crowded together outside on the floor, and someone dives over the top rope and knocks them all down like bowling pins, I roll my eyes at how pathetic wrestling is today. Top to bottom, all the top wrestlers and all the middle bottom wrestlers in WWE and AEW all slapping their leg on every punch and slap. It's to the point where I can't watch wrestling today. Sadly, it's getting too phony. I really question the direction that the people that are in charge are taking wrestling. AEW has gone in a bad direction with all the violence and gore. I watched an episode, Dr. Martha Hart doing her big press conference. I'm watching AEW, and Moxley is sticking a fork in somebody's head for 5 minutes with a close-up. This isn't wrestling. I would recommend turning all that off and not watching because it's not very good. Wrestling is going in bad directions because people don't know what wrestling is or was. There's a little more. Do you want to comment on that first or hear the rest?
Well,
Well,
I mean, it's funny. I say this, and have been saying this repeatedly, and it's like when Bret Hart says, it's like, oh, it must be true now. Like I don't know what I'm talking about. It's bro. He literally, and I contend, and I've said this, bro. The work has a lot to do with losing fans. It is a lot more phony than it used to be, and then the people, like I said, when you're watching 7 hours of TV each week of wrestling, and you see all the thigh slapping and stuff, I think it's very difficult to get in to think that, like, okay, I'm suspending disbelief and this is a real fight. You know what's like, and I said it's like almost an epidemic. You know, and like Brett agrees, and I think it causes the loss of viewers. And I would contend that our style back in the day, were the details were very good with details and strikes, you know, like punches and stuff like that. Like everybody could throw a punch, everybody looked like they could fight. I think that's a big deal. You know, would you agree with that, Conan, or am I off?
yeah, no, I would agree with everything he said and you said. I think my point of view on this though is when he says, "Oh, we're not watching wrestling anymore," well, you are. It's modern wrestling, unfortunately. That's what you're watching.
Right,
And if you run
right.
off fans, it's probably older fans that was used to the better, more realistic style. But now you got to start thinking. Every fan after like 2005 or whatever the year started to get really goofy, they don't know any better. And that's what they're used to. And the next fan base will be used to that too. And they might even get goofier. You know what I'm saying? But I will say this, WWE's
Well,
done a really good job of most of their matches are logical and believable and good, but they like to throw a lot of entertainment in there, which entertainment was always a part of wrestling, but not as much as it is now. Yeah, what were you going
well,
to
I
say?
would disagree with. I'm going to disagree with one thing here that you're
Right.
saying. I think this new style, bro, wrestling is not drawing new fans, and I think this has a lot to do with it. It's not like, the older fans, like remember, like in 2000, in the year 2001, I think the median age of the fan was 27 years old. 21 years later, the median age of the fan is like 51.
Yeah.
That shows that, like, that we are not wrestling is not drawing new fans. It's like the
But
fans are
but but
literally
it but it
getting,
but isn't that
so
weird that the oldest fans who should not like the show are watching it?
Yeah,
That's
I don't.
kind of that's a
That's what they
dichotomy.
say.
I just
I don't trust
yeah,
that,
And
man.
I don't know because
no, no,
I'll give you
no.
an example. Yeah.
But Disco, you don't go to shows. You don't see the live crowd. It's not just a bunch of 51-year-olds and above, or in that. You know what I'm saying? It's
No, no,
everybody.
no. But
Everybody
but the
goes to
but
the
the
shows, all
television
age groups.
viewer, yeah, but professional wrestling, right? It's like a habit. Like wrestling is
Yes.
on every single week. So like your
Mhm.
older fans, when you grow up and for 10 years you watch wrestling every week, it's very difficult to get out of that habit of watching wrestling.
Yeah.
So it's like older fans, you're engrossed in the habit of watching, and you just continue to watch and probably till you die. You know what I'm saying? But what they're not doing is drawing new fans that want to get involved in that habit because like there's other things too. Like video games weren't as big as they are now. Like back then. So like there's a lot of time in the day. Like there's Netflix, there's streaming, there's video games. It's just more competition to draw
and more
wrestling
channels.
Because
I remember when I was growing up,
but yeah,
there were only 3 channels. Then cable came on, and there were a couple cable channels. Okay,
right.
But now there's between streaming and all the channels that there are.
400 channels. Yeah. It's like 1,000 channels. It's crazy, right?
When I was a kid, it stopped at
before you couldn't watch
32 channels. Yeah.
And before you couldn't watch movies at your house. Now you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, do you want to hear?
Yeah.
Do you want to hear the second part of this, Di, or just move on?
Nah, so we made the point.